This 16 plus 512GB version of the X9 Pro was something I picked up offline for 4,999 yuan upfront. That is a full 1,000 yuan cheaper than the official site. I've been using it as my daily driver ever since it launched. In this video, I'll talk about the issues I've run into and my experience so far. I'm a huge fan of the design language this generation, the larger R-angle, corner radius, and the best-in-class bezel control among current flagships. Compared to the X8 Ultra, the difference in build quality is night and day. It is very pleasing to the eye, without that eyesore, Oreo camera module, and switching to a square matrix similar to the Reno series. The entire back looks much cleaner and sleeker. Moving the module also makes room for magnetic rings and cooling clips, allowing them to be positioned more centrally compared to other Pro models on the market. It is not top-heavy at all. Plus, the cameras don't get in your way whether you're holding it in portrait or landscape. Even the camera bump is just right, sitting well within the acceptable range. But OPPO's module design isn't entirely perfect. The curvature of the module's corners doesn't match the phone's body, and even with the case on, it is still quite noticeable. Also, the layout of the three lenses feels a bit unbalanced. Specifically, the Hasselblad logo has been styled in a way that looks like Hadelau. The handheld feel without a case isn't great compared to the competition. The edges of the midframe still lack a rounded finish, resulting in a sharp edge feel that can only be fixed by using a case. The X9 Pro uses a Tianma display this time around. Before buying it, I was just like everyone else. I had a preconceived bias the moment I heard Tianma screen, assuming the display quality wouldn't be up to par. After all, their past screens were known for green tints and being harsh on the eyes. But after actually using the X9 Pro, I honestly can't find much to complain about. The display looks plenty clear and vibrant. The green tint is not noticeable when viewed from the side. At most, there is some brightness drop-off. If I had to pick one thing that really bugs me, it is the peak brightness and the daytime outdoor color display. When it is even slightly overcast, the brightness just doesn't ramp up enough. It sits right at that awkward point where it is legible but not quite clear. But under direct sunlight, while it can crank the brightness to the max, it also completely blows out the saturation. It immediately reminded me of Meizu back in the day. That nauseatingly gaudy look when they first started using Samsung screens. If we were talking about the best part of the X9 Pro, it is definitely the battery life. This 7500 mAh battery can be summed up in just 4 words: ridiculously long-lasting. From day one, I knew this was something special. I still have 30 to 40% battery left after a full workday, even after several software updates. The battery performance has remained remarkably stable. If you're not gaming, getting 8 to 9 hours of screen on time is an absolute breeze. I even ended up just turning off the battery percentage icon. Battery anxiety is practically non-existent with this phone. Unless I'm out doing some heavy shooting, I rarely ever have to worry about the remaining charge. If I really do want to check the level, a quick glance at the AOD is more than enough. In fact, I often use it right down to the 5% low battery warning, or even 2% before I finally charge it. There were several times when I was down to 2%, yet I browsed Xiaohongshu on the toilet for 10 minutes and it still did die. I just hope I can make my battery warranty worth it within the next 2 years. But what is also ridiculously long on the X9 Pro is the charging time. I've been complaining about this since I got it. Every single time I charge it, it actually takes nearly an hour and a half for a full charge. This is straight up Apple level performance. And the charging speed drops the moment the screen lights up. If I'm charging it for an emergency, I don't even dare to use the phone to reply to messages. Now, let's talk about the recent system updates. For instance, the update logs for celebrity themes and ringtones are specifically put in the headlines. Just kidding. OPPO is still quite considerate of its users. They thoughtfully tuck the ringtones and themes at the very bottom, so you don't see them as soon as you open the menu. Anyway, let's pick a few practical points and discuss some issues I've encountered. First is the full screen always-on display. It looks much better than the partial AOD. It also displays more information. Thanks to the massive battery, the power drain is virtually unnoticeable. It also automatically adjusts brightness based on ambient light. It stays on at night without disturbing your sleep. When you receive a notification, the transition animation for the layout change is very smooth. When it comes to animations, Coloros is genuinely top tier. And now, the flashlight is the default on the bottom left of the lock screen. Finally, it is not that obnoxiously Hua lock screen. There are also more customization options available. The second point is the late November update, the portal feature, which significantly boosts efficiency. OPPO's previous logic was to move images to the file dock first, then switch to another app, and finally drag it out from the dock. Either way, you just couldn't bypass that intermediate step. But now, just long press an image or text for 2 seconds, and drag it to the app you want at the bottom. You can search for similar items or share them quickly. It even works with one-handed operation. It is incredibly convenient. This is almost identical to Flime's logic, but it still supports fewer scenarios than Flime. Meanwhile, on Vivo, you have to drag it all the way to the island. Honestly, it's quite impractical. It shows zero consideration for one-handed use. Other features like Xiaobu memory or in Bilibili and Xiaohongshu, the return to source launch animations, the hierarchical effects when swiping back in system settings and so on. I won't bore you with these glitches. They all work great. Let's focus on the actual issues I encountered during use. The first major annoyance I noticed when I got the phone is that after hiding the app icon names, the grid layout changes from 4T6 to 4T7. Your original home screen ends up with an extra row of empty space. This means if you are upgrading to the X9 Pro from an older ColorOS 15 device and prefer a label-free desktop, you'll have to manually rearrange all your icons to fit this new layout. Yet, the Find N5 upgraded from C15 manages to stay at 4x6. It's truly baffling. Equally frustrating is the Xiaobu memory feature. Official marketing was hyping up automated bookkeeping everywhere, making it seem like a dream come true for people who track their expenses. But once I got the phone, it was an incomplete experience. There are only 2 icons sitting in the bookkeeping settings. WeChat simply doesn't support automatic tracking. This basically cripples the entire feature. Sure, you can still log it with a tap after paying, but what was supposed to be seamless is now a manual chore. And it is easy to miss an entry. Though, you can't really blame OPPO for this. Let's just say Zhang Xiaolong is being difficult again. Also removed were Bilibili's AI segmented summaries and timestamp features. It is all quite disappointing. Furthermore, while Xiaobu memory can recognize when you save a post on Xiaohongshu and sync it to its memory, it doesn't work for videos at all. So you still end up having to go back and dig through Xiaohongshu manually. Unless you remember to press the side button the moment you save a video. Xiaobu memory can only help you organize image and text posts. The third issue is photo previews. Since the X9 Pro generation pushed the photo resolution so high, when you open a photo in the gallery or WeChat, it often takes a moment to load before it becomes fully sharp. This leads to another problem. WeChat is extremely prone to crashing when sending multiple images. If you try to send 30 or 40 travel photos to a family group at once, even without selecting original image, WeChat will just crash instantly. You're left with dozens of loading icons spinning in the chat window. And the only thing you can do is recall them one by one, and begrudgingly send them in several smaller batches. Then there is the live photos, a key feature of the last 2 generations. The preview experience is honestly nothing to write home about. Just compare it to Apple and you'll see what I mean. In the transition from still image to video, Apple's crossfading and pacing are excellent. While OPPO does use transparency fades, it still looks a bit jarring. And once you turn off HDR display, it further heightens the disconnect between the still and the video. But the most infuriating part is the resolution drop during gallery edits. No matter how high your initial photo resolution is, the moment you make any adjustment in the album, including changing watermarks or filters, everything gets downscaled to 12 MP. As of version 405, this still hasn't been fixed. So for now, I recommend leaving the watermark off by default when you're shooting. That's the only way to preserve a high-resolution original photo. Lastly, there are some smaller details where things feel a bit unpolished. Keen-eyed viewers might have noticed this. The spacing between the ColorOS 16 status bar and the screen edge is inconsistent, while the time to shift positions automatically to prevent screen burn-in. The icons on the right don't follow suit with the corresponding shift. Another issue is the battery widget on the home screen. The green line represents power consumption and blue is for charging. But in the battery settings, those colors are actually swapped. None of this affects functionality, but once you notice it, it's hard to unsee. Moving on to the camera. I'm not going to do a deep dive here, as plenty of other creators have covered it extensively. I'll just share my general experience. Camera optimization on the X9 Pro has come a long way with several bug fixes. Issues like the focus hunting and blurriness that everyone complained about at launch, as well as the stability and overall feel of the teleconverter. It's been pretty reliable for daily use, though it still needs some fine-tuning for extreme scenarios. While shooting a sunset with the telephoto lens this weekend, the viewfinder still suffered from noticeable color temperature shifts. The X9 Pro might be capable of higher resolution shots now, but to be honest, the improvement in actual resolving power is quite marginal. Compared to the X300 Pro, which uses the same main sensor, there isn't much of a gap. As for the telephoto lens, the HP5 naturally can compete with the larger HPV sensor on the X300 Pro. Its zooming capability is simply a tier lower. And the same applies to its performance when using the teleconverter. But if you stop pixel peeping and look at the photos on their own, isn't this image quality actually quite satisfying? From a daily point and shoot perspective, the X9 Pro S camera is definitely far from being bad. The native 70mm starting focal length is also more practical than 85mm. Plus, the 10cm minimum focus distance makes up for a major weakness in OPPO's previous imaging systems. Moving on to secondary specs, let's briefly touch on the speakers and haptics. Among flagships, I'd say the X9 Pro S speakers are merely serviceable, especially after hearing pro-level competitors like the K90PM. Honestly, most of my daily audio is just short videos and my alarm clock. As for the haptic motor, the X9 Pro S hardware and tuning are both very impressive. But nowadays, I actually prefer a softer vibration similar to the iPhones. The X9 Pro S soft haptics across different scenarios are actually quite well executed. Setting the intensity to 70% is just right. It gives you a sensation that is gentle yet precise. Finally, to wrap up the X9 Pro review, despite my many complaints, if you value a balanced daily experience, rather than chasing extreme imaging specs, then the X9 Pro is easily one of the best options right now. It's no exaggeration to call it an all-around flagship. That massive battery alone provides enough peace of mind for most users. Plus, with its more premium design and the exclusive teleconverter feature, it clearly outperforms the X8 Ultra in many aspects. This camera setup is more than enough for the average user. As for the current shortcomings in image optimization, we'll just have to wait and see. Given OPPO's weekly update rhythm, their speed in fixing bugs is actually quite impressive, considering the street prices reported by users everywhere. Currently, the 16 plus 512GB sweet spot configuration, combined with government and store subsidies, should still be priced under 5,000 RMB. After all, the Ultra model is just around the corner. The X9U is rumored to feature dual 200MP sensors, along with a JN5-based 10x super telephoto lens. The imaging setup looks extremely aggressive. If you're more demanding about mobile photography, it might be worth the wait.